So food systems impact all 17 SDGs. And when we launched the Food Systems Summit a number of years ago, 4 years ago now, the issue was recognizing fully well that our food systems are broken. There are a number of things that are happening that are really not adding up. They are impacting the environment. We have food, but with the number of people that are not feeding right is increasing every day. And then our consumption patterns are also completely impacting our environment. So transforming the food system is very critical to achieving all the 17 SDGs if we are going to be able to feed people and if we are going to be able to correct the damage that has been done to the environment, but also reduce and make sure that that type of damage doesn't continue happening. Right now, some of the things that are beginning to happen on the African continent is really picking up on what the Food System Summit has done and having countries build on what the heads of states have committed, the national pathways they've committed, and really coming up with clear strategies on how to deal with environmental challenges while producing food, to deal with waste while producing food. So some of those are beginning to be areas that critically can ensure that we actually start fixing the problem. I guess one of the biggest challenges that we have to fix and think through right now is the whole idea of inclusion. We have so many people in Africa, 2 out of 3 mothers cannot feed their children the right meal. So just being able to also start looking at what is it in our midst in terms of local solutions, local foods, increasing diversity in food systems that has completely been overpowered now by, like you're saying, mono-food systems. How do we go back to those food systems and start fixing them? But I guess the biggest challenge of all times for the African continent that we need to find solutions to is something we have no ability to find a solution to. It's called climate change, that is causing droughts and droughts and droughts and floods, and you're seeing that across the African continent. And I don't know whether Africa alone can do anything about that until we all, as a world, decide to do something. Yes, Africa can fix what it can. We can plant trees. We can manage how much water flows when it does come. We can manage floods in certain ways, but we cannot control what's happening globally. We learned from COVID-19 that what's happening in one part of the world is affecting all of us. And what we really need is not an African policy on climate change. We need a global policy to fix climate change. We need also countries to come through an adaptation. I mean, you just talked about what is going on in terms of damage. We are not paying for loss and damage, but what is going to happen to life? How many people have died only in the last week because of floods? How many people have died in the last year because of floods? Who pays for that? Who takes responsibility for that? Things we know we can avoid. So for me, it's not what Africa can do. It's what we can do as a global community to fix this problem that is leading to hunger, that is leading to death, that is leading to destruction of life as we know it. I wanted to build on what the earlier speaker said. She said something called outcome-related finance. Now, what happens in the food system in Africa, the way I see it, because a lot of financing happens through MDBs, through resources that come from multilateral institutions and stuff. But when you go to translate that financing sometimes, and this is something we need to think through and understand, where does economic empowerment come from and how do we reduce poverty? You get, $50 million to over 5 or 10 years across a population of 40 million people, and you translate it into per capita investment, and you realize that it's 0.0001. Now, what it does is, it doesn't create any impact on the ground. Sorry, but I do appreciate what these institutions do, but does not translate into impact on the ground, especially given the challenges now. Number 2, debt continues piling up. Never mind that very little impact was created, but debt piles up. Now you have a number of countries that have all this debt, and you're asking yourself, where does development go? How come it doesn't add up? But that's the reason it doesn't add up. Too little, too late, too far apart.
So more funding would be necessary.
Impact-oriented, results-oriented financing. Maybe these institutions don't have enough money to fund the type of development we are looking for as well. I think private sector has huge opportunities to step forward and really be creative and innovative around how we can innovate the food system. I guess one of your earlier the panelists was talking about how we can create, rather than complain about gaps, how we can create ourselves going forward or innovate ourselves going forward. And I think there's a huge opportunity there for private sector to bring solutions on the table. When it comes to food loss and waste, for example, how does the retail system recognize that food loss and waste contributes 8% to emissions, but you can actually turn it into a solution if you move food that is getting to use by dates, if you move it in good enough time to give it to communities that need it, because like we said, there are lots of communities out there that are excluded from food. Now, that's not a loss. You're saving the environment lots of damage. You can also move it and compost it and turn it into the next way of fertilizing food the next day. I mean, there are so many things private sector can do, but most of all, they need to recognize that they own 90% probably of the food system, and food system is contributing to 30% emissions. And if we don't manage how food system is contributing carbon to the environment, then we are a big part of the problem. The failures of the food system when it comes to droughts, to floods, are partly caused by us in the food system. And private sector can do that, can source the right food, can ensure that the value chains in the food system are working in ways that reduce carbon, and can do the right thing. I guess two things really, or three things. Our governments must act. So we really want to see global action on food systems. All of us have to take action to fix the food system challenge. Financing, we need to ensure that we are financing the decarbonization of the food system so that it starts working for all of us. And then the last one, I would say, taking individual action. All of us are part of the food system. All of us know what is going wrong. So if we can start paying for the true cost of food, the true cost of food is environment, the true cost of food is water, the true cost of food is so many things that are happening out there. The true cost of food is labor of the farmers that are in the food system that are not being enumerated the right way. So if we can start asking ourselves, how did this food get here? And how much do I need to be paying to ensure that the whole system stays healthy? Then we can actually ensure that our world is going to a better place. It will not happen unless we as consumers start demanding that the right things happen.